She told me she wanted a friendly divorce, and everyone around us assumed I'd crumble. But 1 month later, she walked into a crowded restaurant, saw me sitting with her closest friend, and the look on her face. Let's just say friendly suddenly wasn't part of her vocabulary anymore. Before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, and drop a comment. It helps the channel more than you know, and I've got a feeling you're going to want to hear this entire story. Now let me take you back to where it all began. It happened on a quiet Tuesday evening. I just finished grilling dinner, the kind of simple home ritual I'd always enjoyed. The kitchen smelled like roasted garlic. The TV hummed faintly from the living room, and the air felt strangely still, like the calm before a storm. My wife, Hannah, walked in with this oddly rehearsed expression on her face. She sat across from me, folded her hands, and took a breath so dramatic I thought she was about to confess to some minor accident, like backing into a mailbox. But no, she tilted her head with that practiced softness and said, "Mark, I think we should have a friendly divorce." Friendly. The word hit the table like a dropped glass. I didn't yell. I didn't slam my fork down. I just stared. The room felt too bright, too quiet. She kept talking about personal growth, finding herself, and hoping we could stay close. Her voice shook in all the spots she wanted it to shake. Like she'd rehearsed it in the mirror, I noticed the small details. The way she avoided eye contact. The way she kept glancing at her phone like she expected a message. The way her smile twitched whenever she said the word, space. Something inside me clicked into place. This wasn't a request. This was an exit plan. The neighbor's dog barked outside. Car drove by. The ceiling fan hummed. But inside my chest, everything went cold and still. She expected a scene. She expected me to negotiate, plead, ask for counseling. She expected me to be the soft, steady man she'd always leaned on whenever she wanted something. But something flipped in me that night. Instead of arguing, I simply nodded. "All right," I said quietly. Her jaw tightened, barely, but enough for me to notice. She blinked fast, startled. "Wait, don't you want to talk about this? Maybe slow down." I didn't. Because for the first time in years, I saw her clearly. She pushed her plate away. "I still care about you, Mark. I want us to stay in each other's lives. I want this to be healthy, mature." Her voice dripped sugar, but her eyes, they flickered with something else. I knew what she was trying to do. Keep me close while testing whatever new adventure she had floating just outside our marriage. I felt a strange sense of calm wash over me. Not numbness, not anger, clarity. The next days passed like slow-moving scenes in a movie. We met with lawyers, divided things, signed documents. She tried to hover, texting me about little things, offering to help me apartment hunt, inviting me for coffee as friends. She performed concern like an actress hitting her marks. But I stayed silent, steady, colder than she expected. And that silence unnerved her more than any shouting match ever could. Friends noticed the change. In every room, I could feel the shift. People watching her carefully, watching me even more carefully. They sensed something brewing beneath the surface, something she hadn't anticipated. One night, I ran into Jenna, one of Hannah's longtime friends, someone I'd always gotten along with in that casual, easy way couples friends do. We ended up talking longer than expected about life, work, the strange twists adulthood takes. She listened, really listened, in a way I hadn't experienced in years. But that moment, that tiny spark of connection, that comes later in this story. For now, all you need to know is this. While Hannah performed her version of a graceful exit, I walked through those weeks with a quiet, calculated calm that started to unsettle her. She kept looking for emotional cracks, some sign that I was breaking. But instead of chasing her, I simply stepped out of her reach, and that's when the real story began. The moment the divorce papers were signed, Something in the air around us shifted, sharp, invisible, undeniable. Hannah kept forcing that brittle smile, the kind people wear when they're pretending everything is under control, but her eyes told a different story. She thought our friendly divorce meant I'd linger somewhere in her orbit, waiting, available, predictable. Instead, I treated the entire process like a clean transaction, and that calmness rattled her more than any anger ever could. She kept texting me with excuses to stay connected. Pictures of a restaurant we'd once visited, little jokes, checking in messages that came at strange hours. I replied politely, briefly, and never opened the door she kept trying to wedge her foot into. Meanwhile, something unexpected began growing in a place she never imagined. With her own friend, Jenna. It started innocently enough, coffee after running into each other, then conversation that stretched far beyond small talk. She remembered things I said weeks earlier, asked real questions, and never once treated me like I was an accessory to someone else's life. It felt grounding, like stepping into a warm room after standing outside in the cold for years. Our coffee meetups turned into dinners, and dinners turned into evenings we didn't want to end. We laughed easily, spoke openly, and for the first time in a long time, I felt chosen rather than tolerated. While this connection grew naturally, Hannah's behavior grew stranger. She began asking mutual friends what I was doing, where I was going, who I was seeing. Friends would awkwardly mention her questions, their voices dipping as if they knew she was crossing lines she pretended not to see. The more I pulled away, the more she tried to stay tethered. She'd text me late at night. "How are you doing? We should grab lunch. I heard you went downtown. How was it?" Everything she said had a hook hidden inside it, a way to pull me back into her story. I gave her nothing to grip. Meanwhile, Jenna and I grew closer in a way that felt effortless. She wasn't trying to save me, fix me, or use me as emotional insurance. She simply valued my presence, and I valued hers. For the first time in years, I wasn't walking on eggshells or wondering what mood I'd come home to. She'd show up with dinner because she thought I might be tired. She laughed at my jokes like they weren't obligations. She leaned into me with a kind of sincerity that felt almost foreign after everything I'd been through. 3 weeks after the paperwork cleared, she and I were seeing each other almost every day. Nothing secretive, nothing rushed. Just honest, grown-up connection between two people who wanted to be there. My home, once quiet and heavy, started to feel alive again. She'd bring candles, flowers, little touches that turned the space into something warm instead of hollow. And while our connection grew, Hannah's grip on her version of reality slipped little by little. Mutual friends would mention how she'd been on dates with different men, each one more fleeting than the last. She wanted freedom, well, she got it, but she also wanted me to stay exactly where she left me. That wasn't going to happen. When Jenna suggested we stop being discreet, it didn't even feel like a decision. It felt natural. I wasn't hiding. She wasn't hiding. We were two adults building something real. The first time we went out together in public as a couple was at a restaurant where we knew people from our circle would be. Jenna looked stunning, glowing, genuinely thrilled to be there with me. I felt proud walking beside her. Steady, confident, whole. And the moment we walked through the door holding hands, you could feel the air shift. Conversations dipped. Heads turned. And across the room, Hannah froze, her smile collapsing, then reforming into something brittle and sharp. But this is where the story really starts to tilt, because her reaction that night was only the beginning of the storm she was about to unleash. The night everything finally snapped wasn't dramatic at first. It was a simple backyard barbecue. Cold drinks, music humming from portable speakers, people chatting in lazy circles under strings of lights. Jenna and I arrived together, hand in hand, moving through the crowd with the ease of two people who had nothing to hide. I could feel eyes on us, But this time there was nothing secretive or tense about it. We were exactly where we wanted to be, and that calm confidence made every moment feel solid. But the instant Hannah arrived, the energy around her crackled like static. She scanned the yard, spotted us, and something dark flickered across her face. She tried to mask it with a smile, but it stretched too far and held too long. She floated from group to group, laughing too loudly, sipping drink after drink, constantly glancing our way. And every time someone complimented Jenna or mentioned how happy we looked, Hannah's jaw tightened just a little more. The breaking point came near the pool. I had my arm around Jenna's waist, and we were telling a story that had a small group laughing. It was a simple, genuine moment, nothing showy, nothing performative. Then, out of nowhere, Hannah stormed up and planted herself in the middle of the circle. "This is ridiculous," she said loudly, her voice slicing through the conversations around us. Heads turned. People stopped talking. You could practically feel everyone holding their breath. "You two think this is appropriate? Flaunting this relationship like some kind of victory lap?" Jenna didn't flinch. She simply straightened beside me. I kept my voice steady. "What exactly is inappropriate about two single adults dating?" That word single sent her over the edge. "Single?" she barked. "We just got divorced, and you immediately run off with one of my friends. How is that not betrayal?" Conversations across the yard slowed to silence. Some people subtly lifted their phones, already sensing a spectacle. I took a breath, letting the quiet work for me. "We agreed on a friendly divorce," I said evenly. "You wanted freedom. I respected that. That same freedom applies to me." Her face flushed, and she stumbled over her next words. "But we were supposed to stay friends." I let the moment hang in the air before delivering the truth she'd been running from. Friends don't ask for divorce, so they can explore other options while keeping their ex-husband on standby. You wanted to do whatever you wanted with whoever you wanted. And you did. A ripple went through the crowd. I saw people exchanging looks, pieces clicking into place. She tried to push back. "That's not... I never..." "You didn't need to say it," I interrupted, calm and final. "Your actions said enough. You went out with multiple guys while texting me like nothing had changed. That's not friendship. That's manipulation." Jenna slid her hand into mine, not as a weapon, not to provoke, just steady, supportive. And that, more than anything, made it clear to everyone which of these two women actually valued what stood beside her. Hannah looked around the yard, hoping for support, for someone to jump in, but no one did. Everyone had seen enough. Her face crumpled into anger she couldn't swallow. "This isn't over," she spat, pointing at me with a shaking hand. I met her gaze without blinking. "Actually, it is. You ended it. Everything after that is yours to live with." She grabbed her bag, stumbled through the crowd, and left without another word. The whispers began before she even reached the driveway. But for the first time in a long time, none of it touched me. The next morning, I made decisions that sealed the last door between my past and my future. I blocked her number, blocked her social media, cut ties with the mutual friends who'd acted like informants. The silence that followed felt like stepping into a house after a storm. Quiet, clean, peaceful. Jenna supported every bit of it, steady as always. And when she got a promotion that required relocating, the decision came easier than I ever expected. A fresh start, a new state, a life not built around someone else's chaos. As we packed boxes and planned our move, I ran into an old acquaintance who told me Hannah had been asking about my plans. She'd finally realized I wasn't sticking around to be her emergency fallback. But her confusion, her regret, her unraveling, none of it belonged to me anymore. Moving day came, bright and warm. As Jenna and I loaded the last box into the truck, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Genuine excitement about the future. We drove away from that town, from the past, from everything that once held me in place. She reached over, laced her fingers through mine, and asked, "Any regrets?" I looked at her, then at the open road ahead. Not a single one. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Your support means the world. See you in the next one.